Okay, if I can have your attention, please. David Ragan has joined us here in the Meter Center at Richmond. And David Ragan is got a great sponsor on his race car this weekend. He drives the number 23 Sweet Frog Toyota, BK Racing. David, congratulations to all the folks at BK Racing. We've got some folks here from Sweet Frog in attendance today. We appreciate your all support of NASCAR and of BK Racing. And certainly the fact that Sweet Frog is a local company here in the Richmond area, and they have some other local sponsors associated with that race team this weekend. That's super. So, David, take it away and talk about the excitement of being hooked up with a new sponsor. I was telling the gentleman earlier, Sweet Frog, when you leave Sweet Frog, you are not hungry. So it's a great place and a great company, and we appreciate it very much. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, thanks, Kerry. I'm excited to be at Richmond. I love Richmond. I love coming to all the short tracks, but especially excited to drive the Sweet Frog Toyota Camry this weekend. Sweet Frog, one of my family's favorite stops around Concord. There's a location just right down the road. My oldest daughter's 2, and we're just starting potty training, and so she knows that when she can even say the word potty, we take her to Sweet Frog. So it's going to even out. We can spend a lot of money at Sweet Frog and save the money on diapers in the long run. But now we're excited to have Sweet Frog and a lot of new partners this weekend at BK. Obviously, after a great performance by my teammate Matt Benedetto last week, I feel like we've got some momentum on our side since Daytona. We've tried to really tell and be vocal about how hard we're going to work on and off the racetrack this year at BK Racing. I feel like some of that is starting to surface. We've got a new partner next week on our car at Talladega. Just signed a deal for the All-Star weekend and Memorial Day weekend at Charlotte. So we've got some good momentum, but Sweet Frog being a local company here in Richmond, they've got over 350 stores, locations around the country. So a large company, their first taste of NASCAR racing here at Richmond. So hopefully it's the start of a long partnership. And man, it's good to have sponsors like this that interact with the community, that certainly interact with the NASCAR industry in a good way. We've got some coupons that we're going to be passing out and hooking you guys up with. There is a mobile display out in the midway in front of the racetrack that I'll be at tomorrow, and some of the race fans can stop by and sample some of our frozen yogurt and treats. And then we have, if you don't want to make the trip out there, we have some stuff over at the BK Racing Food Tent. You guys are welcome to come over and get. We will keep an eye on things to make sure you don't go back 3 and 4 and 5 times. So just a couple, I think, is about all we're going to give you. But now we're excited to have Sweet Frog. That's a great thing for our team. It's cool for my family. It's a place that we stop at a lot. And Matt with Sweet Frog's here if you guys have any questions, any thoughts. But a lot of fun and off some good momentum from last weekend. Hopefully we can carry it on this weekend at Richmond.
Well, thank you, David. We'll take questions now for David. If you have one, raise your hand, and we'll bring you the wireless mic. We'll start right over here to the far right with Tom Jensen. Go ahead.
Hey, David. Tom Jensen from FoxSports.com. How does the rain and the likelihood of qualifying being rained out change your strategy for the rest of the weekend?
Well, it really changes it when we first get here, because we typically would unload in race trim, and it's a new tire this weekend, and so we would spend some time in race trim with our race setup before we switched over. But a lot of teams elected to go right into qualifying trim. We didn't. We ran a little race setup the first couple of runs in practice just to get a baseline to have something to work on for tomorrow. But for us, it's going to be really warm on Sunday, and so the racetrack here at Richmond is very temperature sensitive, and it is sensitive to the amount of rubber. So I know anytime we have a new tire, Goodyear's always a little, not concerned, but they're always they pay attention to the amount of sunlight, the amount the rubber lays down on the track. So I'm sure that the rest of the weekend looks great. We'll have our opportunity to have some practices tomorrow. The Xfinity race we'll get a chance to run. So I think everything looks good. But just from a team's perspective, those 2 practices tomorrow will be really important.
Let's go on the back row to Chip. Go ahead.
David Chiprier here with 8 News in Richmond. You're going to have the blue ribbon on your car for Chad Durmeyer, the Virginia State Trooper, I was just told. How special is that you'll be representing that family and the Virginia State Troopers, and what that has been like for the city of Richmond and the state of Virginia?
Well, I think all of you guys that travel the circuit with us on a weekly basis certainly know how close-knit community the NASCAR industry is, and I think that stretches out to wherever we race at, wherever the NASCAR industry is at, whether it be Richmond or my hometown track of Atlanta Motor Speedway out in California, or maybe New York. At Watkins Glen, we all have a connection somewhere, and for our connection is our car owner Ron Devine is from this area, and I think Doug Fritz, our CMO, is spent a lot of time here at Richmond. So Richmond's kind of a hometown track for BK Racing, so it was important to acknowledge his sacrifice and the duty that he made, the ultimate sacrifice that he made. So no, it's great to carry that blue ribbon on our car this weekend, and hopefully his family will get a chance to get some cool pictures and have some fun that we're thinking about him.
Other questions? We got 3 in a row right here. We'll go Chris Knight, Reed, and then Lee.
Chris Knight, catchfans.com. David, what do you feel like has been the best asset that you've brought to BK Racing since joining the team earlier this year?
I think my experience and driving the Toyotas that I got to drive last year, we were able to incorporate some of what I learned last year and into the cars that we got off to the start this year. So obviously our fleet of inventory were Michael Waltrip Racing's primary cars for the second half of last season. So I had the opportunity to drive some of the cars and understand some of the good and the bad that were associated with them. But I think for us, we've just got to stay diligent and focused on small goals. Well, we can't look at that leader on the pylon every weekend and say we want to be setting on poles, we want to be fastest in practice, we want to lead every lap and win every race. So there's some teams that can look at that, but we've got to be more realistic. We've got to look at top 20s and top 15s and kind of walk before we run. So I think that just my experience with the race cars, and then driving for some big teams, driving for some small teams over the course of my career, I've been able to keep a level head and try to help Matt some. I think Matt has got a ton of talent. He's very fast. He's a good race car driver, and he's a good person. So we've been able to kind of push each other along the way, and it's been a fun ride so far. Thanks, Chris.
Right over there to Lee.
LeeSpencerMotorsport.com. To follow up on that with your familiarity with the MWR cars, sorry, will you have the same Toyota you drove at Talladega there last year, this year, when you go there next week?
I don't know for sure, but I think yes. I think I will have the same Speedway car that I raced last year in the fall at Talladega, and we were running great. We had a small oil leak and got black flagged. I think we were running in the top 7 or 8 in the closing laps. So yes, we'll have I believe the same car, but for us it's like I talked about on Chris's question, it's just being very realistic with our expectations and having some small victories. Obviously, Matt's run last weekend a top 10 at a tough racetrack, but it's a track that we can run well at. We both ran well at Phoenix. We have high expectations coming here. I feel like we had a good day at Martinsville. So some of the tracks that are in the second half of the schedule, I'm excited about the road course races. The MWR cars were extremely fun to drive at both Sonoma and Watkins Glen, and then anything can happen at Talladega. We've proven that in the past with the smaller team. So looking forward to a lot of tracks the second half of the year.
Other questions for David? Let's go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. David, with your experience with what you're able to do with Front Row Motorsports and the success at Talladega and what that meant with the win and your teammate finishing second, with what Matt was able to do last week, how long does that? What kind of a carryover effect does that have? How long can that help a team as it looks to build and to kind of generate? Know that there are going to be some still tough days ahead, but what does it mean to have something like that?
I think it's a big motivation for our shop employees, for our sponsors, our partners, our relationship with Toyota, short term and long term. I think short term it definitely creates some momentum that some potential sponsors we're working on, maybe some ones that we've recently signed. They can sit back and say, man, that was a great run. Got a lot of publicity from that run, building some confidence, all which is good for the next few weeks. But long term, that's good for Matt's career. It's good for BK Racing's career. Obviously, you have to start somewhere. You've got to finish sixth before you finish third or before you can win these races. And so it's just the next step. It's not a grand slam, but it's the next base over. It's a little closer to home plate. And so that's how I've tried to perceive it. And, we were extremely happy this week, for obviously our Dr. Pepper team. We had an engine failure and didn't finish the race, but Matt was able to have a good day. And so the morale around the shop was really good. And it just shows that if everything lines up and if we all do our jobs and we don't have any part failures and if we have a decent car, we have the capability to run in the top 10 or the top 15 at a lot of tracks. So, yeah, like you said, we still have some tough dates in front of us that we're going to have to address and get better, but we do have some good things working too. We just need to stay focused.
Any more questions for David Ragan? Well, David, thank you for coming in. Congratulations on the sponsorship with Sweet Frogs, and I know that our friends here in the media center will be looking forward to tasting some of that here.
Under this rain delay, you guys go ahead. Ice cream is part of your diet for the weekend, so y'all have some fun with it, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys around. Stop by the Midway display out front or the BK Racing food tent here in the garage, and we'll be glad to give you a little bit.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, David.